With the art of the deal, Wall Street shaking off concerns of a possible trade war over President Trump's plan to impose tariffs on steel and aluminum imports. But now Bloomberg is reporting that the EU plans to target $3.5 billion of American products with a 25% retaliatory tariff if President Trump goes through with his steel tariff. Meanwhile, the president and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau have now spoken about the controversial tariffs, and the president is throwing NAFTA into the mix.
We've had a very bad deal with Mexico, a very bad deal with Canada. It's called NAFTA. We are renegotiating NAFTA, as I said I would. And if we don't make a deal, I'll terminate NAFTA. But if I do make a deal, which is fair to the workers and to the American people, that would be, I would imagine, one of the points that we'll negotiate. It will be tariffs on steel for Canada and for Mexico.
Joining us right now to talk more about that is the former national spokesperson for the Trump campaign and America First policy spokesperson, Katrina Pierson. Katrina, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
So, now we've got Europe coming back and saying we're going to retaliate with our own 25% tariff. That looks like the beginnings of a trade war, which is, of course, what everybody's been worried about. How do you see it, Katrina?
Well, Marie, I think we're actually in the middle of a trade war. The trade war began back with NAFTA that impacted millions of people in the United States, including the manufacturing industry. And now we have a president who has not only talked about doing something like this for nearly 3 decades, but who campaigned on doing just that, leveling the playing field. Right now, there's a $92 billion deficit between trade with the European Union. And the president is simply saying, not anymore. And I believe now people should realize that President Trump is serious when it comes to putting Americans first and putting American jobs at the top priority. And I really don't think they're going to continue to go through with this.
That's a key point, at least to me, Katrina. What you're talking about there at the end is that there's been, and for people who follow the markets, yesterday, there was some talk that maybe the president might be moderating his position, using it as a negotiating tactic. Maybe he backs off some. But to your point, he does have, and this is different than other issues, he does have a clear 30-plus year record on trade of promoting essentially protectionist policies. So it brings up the question of, can he be talked out of this by Gary Cohn or anybody else?
Or Paul Ryan.
Yeah, exactly. Or by Paul Ryan, who had some strong words yesterday. Do you see him moderating or changing his position?
I don't see it. And if you read The Art of the Deal, which is really the blue book for everything that he's done, you have to be prepared to walk away. He's put his position out there. And frankly, Paul Ryan was on the ticket. The American public didn't vote for it. And now we have a president that overwhelmingly campaigned on this position. So you're not going to be able to walk him back. He's absolutely negotiating. He's talked about NAFTA when it comes to our allies and these tariffs. And that's what he's wanting to do. He's wanting to renegotiate these trade deals so that the United States isn't on the back end anymore, but instead we have fair free trade.
Hey, Katrina, Kristen Tate here. I understand why Donald Trump is imposing tariffs. It makes sense to me. We haven't had a trade surplus since 1975, but now he's talking about potentially putting tariffs on EU cars. I understand that it probably won't get into a full-blown trade war, but what if it does? Is Trump willing to engage in a full-blown trade war if it gets to that point? And is there a line where he's just going to say enough is enough?
No. Well, first, I don't think it's going to go into a trade war because, again, in The Art of the Deal, you have to know your leverage.
But what if it does?
And I'm 100% confident that Donald Trump knows the leverage. And hypothetically speaking, if it does, the president is not going to allow countries to hurt the United States anymore. He's going to maintain, to keep steel and aluminum manufacturing in the United States because this is a national security issue. And we have to be cognizant that in a war where we have terrorism and North Korea acting the way it's acting, we have to protect the United States. National sovereignty comes first. The president is not going to back down.
But, Katrina, to push back on that notion, putting a blanket tariff on steel and aluminum damages our relationship with the likes of South Korea, who we need as our ally if we are going to take on North Korea. And there is ample slack in aluminum and steel production in this country right now to meet our national defense needs. Steel mills running at 72% capacity last year, aluminum smelters running at just 39% capacity. I want to point to something that we brought up here about using, it seems to be combining two separate things, specific tariffs on steel and aluminum imports as a negotiating tool in the NAFTA negotiations. And the Wall Street Journal writes today, if the intention was to speed up and improve these negotiations, that's certainly not what we've heard from the negotiators from Mexico and Canada. The economy minister in Mexico said, as to whether we're willing to make concessions on the issues under negotiation or in other areas to obtain the exclusion from the steel tariffs, consider it ruled out.
Wow.
It's interesting.
Right.
I mean, we always assume that just because something's a negotiating tactic doesn't mean it's a good one all the time.
Well, a lot of the
Also,
rhetoric coming from Mexico and these other countries could also be political posturing. They're probably trying to pressure Trump not to impose these tariffs. But if he actually does it, maybe.
And Goldman Sachs.
Well, I think that's